so in the next 15 minutes or so, I'm gonna teach you exactly what is South Florida. I'm gonna break down the entire area into smaller chunks, give you a basic understanding of each metro area, talk about the good and the bad. So by the end of this video, you'll not only be able to figure out some areas that you like, but more importantly, you'll be able to rule out those areas that you hate. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Living South Florida channel, where we make these videos to show you exactly what it's like to move to or live in South Florida. And we hope you get value from these videos. But more than we love making these videos, we are a team of realtors here in the area, and we'd love a chance to earn your real estate business. We make these videos to give you something that I didn't have when I moved down here 5 years ago. So if you're thinking of buying a home, relocating to South Florida, or even selling a home, we'd love for you to reach out to us. You can call, text, or email us, and we'd love to set up a Zoom call with you to go over your situation and best help you process your move. All right, so let's get into it. This area that's known as South Florida, or the Miami metropolitan area, is actually broken up into 3 different sections, 3 different counties, and 3 different smaller metro areas. And this is probably a good video to start with if maybe you're just starting your research phase, you have no idea where you want to be. This is probably the video to start with, and I'm gonna show you a map right now just to show you exactly what South Florida is. It's not the entire southern part of the state. It's this little area that's highlighted on the map, which consists of Miami-Dade County, Broward County, and Palm Beach County. And so we're gonna start in Miami-Dade County and work our way up. So Miami-Dade County, probably what South Florida is most known for, and it's the largest area by size and population, with I believe about 2.7 million people or something like that. And this is kind of when everybody starts their journey out here. This is where a lot of people just default to at first because this is what they know. They know Miami. I've told this story before that when I actually first moved down here, I originally wanted to be in the Aventura Sunny Isles area, which is part of Miami-Dade County, but I got some time to explore my options and I realized that that just wasn't actually where I wanted to be. But like I said, I didn't have information like this 5 years ago. But we're actually working with a client right now, Kunal, who's out here from Chicago, and he started his journey or his home search a couple years ago, and he started looking in Miami as well. And over time, he realized that that's just not what he wanted. And the city of Miami actually only makes up a small part of the county. There's maybe a little over 400,000 people. I'll put the exact number on the screen. But Miami-Dade County is made up of a lot of smaller towns and villages, and then unincorporated areas, which are more to the southwest, which are more suburban. But pretty much if you live in Miami-Dade County, you're probably gonna tell people you live in Miami. And what draws a lot of people here is just the city-like feel, the high-rise condos, the very fast-paced New York City style of living, except more tropical. But a majority of this area has that city-like feel. And I find that one of 2 people are coming here. It's either the people that are from a major city like New York or LA, and they want to keep that city feel but just be somewhere new, or it's the people who maybe grew up in a really small town and they kind of want that change, and they see the bright lights of Miami and the lifestyle, and those are the ones who come here. But believe it or not, a lot of people that do come from other major big cities, they're trying to get away from that, so they actually branch out from Miami. And that's exactly what I was talking about with Kunal, who's here from Chicago. He wants to be out of the city lifestyle, so that's why he's not choosing Miami anymore. I'm sure it's no secret, and I don't have to tell you, traffic is very heavy everywhere in this county for the most part. In this area, we have a lot of highway options. I'm gonna just show you them all on the map. This is actually the one county in South Florida where there's a lot of highway options, and you'll see as we start working our way north that it just gets less and less. And the 2 major highways that will run you through the entire metro area are gonna be I-95, which is more to the east, and then the Turnpike, which is a toll road that's more central or to the west. Those both run north and south. We also have the Bright Line train and the Metro Rail. And then downtown in Brickell has something called the People Mover, which has like 21 stops that takes you throughout downtown in Brickell. And it's kind of like Miami's version of a light rail train. And this is the only area in South Florida that you'll find something like that. So if public transportation is something that's pretty important to you, this is probably a good option, at least being within the downtown, Edgewater, Midtown, Brickell area of Miami. And I know I'm probably saying a lot of towns that you may not even know of yet, or a lot of neighborhoods, and we'll get to them in future videos. A lot of people really like this area too because of its lifestyle, the culture, the arts, the fashion. It's very flashy in Miami, and I'm sure if you've been down here, you've seen movies, you see the supercars. People like to show off down here. It's very cultural when it comes to even its neighborhoods. It has neighborhoods like Little Haiti, Little Havana. It has artistic neighborhoods like Wynwood, which is just full of artists, graffiti everywhere. Then there's the design district, which is pretty heavy on fashion. And one thing that it's really known for in this area, and again, right now I'm just speaking about Miami, the city, I guess, and Miami Beach, it has a very big party lifestyle. So whether you're downtown at Space or in Wynwood at one of the clubs or on South Beach, which by the way, South Beach is like Miami's version of Times Square. It's a tourist trap. Miami Beach as a whole is very beautiful, but South Beach, just a forewarning, it is a pretty big tourist trap, but there is a very big party lifestyle here in Miami. And one of the top neighborhoods in the city is actually Brickell, which is adjacent to downtown. It's right across the bridge, and it's where all the high rises are. It's where a lot of the young professionals are, and it's where a lot of finance companies have moved their headquarters or their firms to, you know, after 2020. They started calling it the Wall Street of the South. So Brickell has become a very popular area. Niche.com actually ranks it as the top neighborhood in the entire Miami area, and there's a bright future for it. There's a ton of high rises, with 13 more projected in the next 6 or so years. Now, I mentioned before Aventura and Sunny Isles, which are a little bit farther north. Those are just two towns that are on the intercoastal. Aventura has the Aventura Mall, which is the largest mall in Miami-Dade County. And then Sunny Isles is on the beach where you see a lot of the really big high rises. That's the area I originally wanted to be in, but that's a little bit more outside of the city. I guess you could say a little bit more suburban, still with that city feel. But when we talk about suburban Miami, one area that I want to talk about specifically is Coral Gables, which is actually ranked as the top suburb in all of South Florida per niche.com. It's where the University of Miami is, a very Mediterranean style look, Mediterranean revolutionary, I believe they call it. I'll show you some B-roll here so you can get an idea. It's a very active town, but it's still suburban. Other than that, this is where all the major sports teams are, aside from two of them. There is the International Airport, there is the cruise port. One thing about Miami International is that the flights are, from my experience, are cheaper there than the other two airports, but it's also probably the busiest. Actually, not probably, it is the busiest of the three airports in the metro area. Maybe why flights are the cheapest out of there. So overall, Miami-Dade County, big city feel, heavy traffic, a lot of people, but a lot going on. Okay, moving north, we have Broward County, which is the Fort Lauderdale metro area. And this is the second largest by population at 1.9 million. And it's actually the smallest by size. And this is about halfway in between West Palm Beach and Miami, the city. This is actually where I live, in Fort Lauderdale, and that's one of the reasons why I chose it. And Fort Lauderdale is the largest city with about 185,000 people. And people like me choose this area because it's close to Miami, maybe 25, 30 miles. Not as hectic, but it still gives you that city-like fast-paced feel. And that's why a lot of our clients choose this general area too, and not necessarily just Fort Lauderdale, the city, but the metro area, which I'll show you exactly on the map, kind of how this area is broken down. So you can see we have the same 95 and the Turnpike. You also have 595 right here, which is one of the major east-west highways in this whole area because it does connect you basically from the west suburbs or the Everglades to Fort Lauderdale International Airport. and the Port Everglades, which is also where the cruise ships go out. Busing and train system is good within the cities, but less frequent in the suburbs. The trains are non-existent in the suburbs. And before I get too deep into it, let me show you how it's laid out. The beaches are all the way on the coast. The entire South Florida area runs this way, where the beaches are on this little barrier island and you need to take a bridge to get to them, a drawbridge. The cities are to the east on the coast or the intercoastal. And then right around where the turnpike is to the west is where all the suburbs are. And the suburbs just tend to be, you know, just like a typical suburb, more spread out, more laid back. And then the further west you go towards the Everglades, the more spread out and kind of the more quiet it gets. But I will say also, the more humid it gets, because you are out closer to the swamps or the Everglades. So I noticed that it's much more humid out there. It feels a lot hotter than being out east towards the beach, where you're getting that sea breeze. Now, Fort Lauderdale is still pretty flashy. People still like to show off here. It's not quite Miami, but people still like to show off. You'll still see a lot of supercars here. People really like to show off when it comes to their yachts. And that's kind of what this area is known for. Fort Lauderdale is known as the yachting capital of the world. It's home to the world's biggest on-water boat show, the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show, which happens every October. Each county actually has its own boat show. Fort Lauderdale's is the largest in the world. It brings over about 100,000 people every single year. And it's just overall known for water. It's known for its inland canals and waterways. There's over 300 miles of them in the metro area, over 150 alone just in Fort Lauderdale. And so, like I said, heavy focus on water here. Recreation, water sports, whether it's kayaking, jet skis, boating in general, fishing, very heavy influence on water here. Heavy influence on seafood here. There's some good seafood out here, like coconuts on the beach, or the 15th Street Fisheries is good. Compared to Miami, where there is good seafood down there, there's really good everything down there, but there's a heavy influence on Latin food, really good Latin food, Cuban food down there, Peruvian food. And staying on the topic of water, Fort Lauderdale is really known for its clean beaches. So there's something called a Blue Wave certification, and I'm just gonna pop it up on the screen and so I don't get it wrong, but it's basically a national certification for beaches, and it's just meant to keep beaches clean and healthy and keep them vibrant. And these beaches are all over the country, but there's only 7 in South Florida, and all 7 are in Broward County. So there's Hallandale Beach, Hollywood Beach, Dania Beach, Fort Lauderdale Beach, Lauderdale by the Sea, Pompano Beach, and Deerfield Beach. And Lauderdale by the Sea was actually just ranked as the 3rd best beach in all of Florida by USA Today. Now, as far as those other 2 sports teams that I mentioned, we have the Florida Panthers, which play out in Sunrise, and we have the Miami Football Club, the soccer team with Leo Messi, which plays in Fort Lauderdale, even though I believe they're building a stadium out in Miami. They're playing in Fort Lauderdale right now. I mentioned the airport, the international airport, and the cruise port, the Port Everglades. One thing I will say is Fort Lauderdale International, it's probably the best airport I've ever flown out of. I've flown out of a lot of airports, and the 2 main ones from the places that I've lived are Newark International and Denver International. And if you've been to either of those airports, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They're a pain. And Fort Lauderdale is just so easy for commuting. It's never taken me more than 10 minutes to get through security. And I think that a lot of people, even if they're traveling to Miami, they come to this airport, even though it's a little more expensive, because it's not as crazy as Miami. Okay, so just north, we're in Palm Beach County now. And this is actually the 2nd largest county by size, but the smallest by population, with about 1.4 million people. And this is by far the least busiest and the least hectic of the 3 counties. And the largest city here is West Palm Beach, with a population of about 120,000 people. And it's kind of a hike from Miami. It's about 70 miles from Miami and about 46 from Fort Lauderdale. So if you're commuting, for whatever reason, if you decide you want to live in that West Palm Beach area, but you have to commute to Miami regularly, I highly recommend something like the Bright Line train. Otherwise, you're probably going to be sitting in traffic an hour to an hour and a half each way every single day if you decide to make that commute. And you only have those 2 highways, 95 and the turnpike up here. There is nothing going east and west in Palm Beach County. And so I mentioned West Palm Beach is the largest city, but it's not necessarily the most, I want to say the right word. We're not getting the most calls for people looking to move to West Palm Beach. But each of these areas do have its own little section or downtown area that kind of serves its purpose for the town. West Palm Beach has Clematis Street, which is where a lot of the nightlife is happening. Delray Beach has Atlantic Ave, which is very similar to Las Olas, if you're familiar with Las Olas in Fort Lauderdale. If you're not, I have a ton of videos on Fort Lauderdale. Make sure to go check those out. And then Boca has Meisner Park, which is a really nice downtown area, not as much focused on nightlife, but definitely boutique shopping and fine dining. And it's very clean, it's very orderly. I just did a video on Boca, so I'll go ahead and link that in the description if you want to check that out. And overall, Palm Beach County kind of has more of like an old Florida vibe, charming, depending on where you are, of course. Western suburbs kind of just all have the same feel, whether you're in Palm Beach County, Broward County, or Miami. Similar housing. And like I mentioned earlier, it's the least busy of all the areas, but that definitely does not mean that traffic is still a breeze here. It still gets traffic. There's still 1.4 million people that live in this county. And one thing I will add is that depending on where you are in this county, especially west, like West Lake Worth and West Boynton Beach, the roads are really nice out here. So if you're used to like the city, New Jersey, I can speak on that because that's where I'm from, full of potholes. Even Fort Lauderdale, they don't maintain the roads very well. In a lot of these Palm Beach County areas, they maintain the roads really nice. They're really smooth, and it's just so nice to drive on. But just because Palm Beach County has this different type of atmosphere, it's not necessarily a bad thing. That's actually why a lot of people do choose this area, is because that's the atmosphere they're looking for. And even though it's the furthest away from Miami, it still houses some of the most expensive real estate in all of South Florida. If you're not familiar with Palm Beach, the island, you may want to get familiar. It's a really nice area directly east from West Palm Beach, the city, and it's just got this appeal to it. It's very quaint, it's very charming. It has Worth Ave, which is kind of like the Rodeo Drive. Even though there's a lot of wealth in Palm Beach, people are just a lot more to themselves in this area. But this is where if you drive down Ocean Ave, you'll see the mansions on the west side of the road, and then on the opposite side is the beach. And these homes have their own private deeded beach. Sometimes they have their pool on the beach. And I mean, these are $100 million homes here. Boca's also known for having some really expensive real estate. And then Jupiter, of course. If you don't know about Jupiter, Jupiter is more of a slow-paced town, the furthest north in Palm Beach County that you can go. We're gonna cover it in a video in the future, but Jupiter's got some really expensive real estate, some nice golf courses. And speaking of golf, Palm Beach County has over 145, I believe, golf courses in the entire county, whether they're public or municipal or private. You do have Palm Beach International Airport and the Port of Palm Beach. These are definitely going to be the slower of the three. And Palm Beach International Airport's a really nice airport. The problem is that it's a smaller airport and not a lot of flights go in and out of it. So it does tend to be more expensive. And that's why I said earlier in this video, for anyone flying in and out, whether they're going to Palm Beach or going to Miami, Fort Lauderdale seems to be the main choice of airport in this area, but there is still the option up there. And there's so much I can touch on each of these individual cities, and that's what I'm starting to do now as I branch out into the entire South Florida region, is going into each of these towns and showing you what it's like to live there. But for this video, I kind of wanted to give you just a high-level overview of the entire metro South Florida area, so you can decide which area may be best for you if you're just starting out your search. And I hope you got value from this video. And if you did, we want to hear from you. We want to help you. You can call us, text us, email us, and we'd love to hop on a Zoom call with you. Or you can just skip the calling and texting and go straight to the link in my description and book a Zoom call with me, and we'll help you that way. In the meantime, as always, I appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.